So anytime I start a video when it comes to belief systems, I think it's really important that I talk about what some of my biases and beliefs are. I'm a Christian. I was baptized at least 3 times when I was a kid. First as a Catholic, and then as a Congregationalist. And one of my summer camps that I went to, I was baptized as well. When I was much younger, I did believe in God, but my sense of spirituality has developed over the years. And I do believe in the credibility of most religious texts that are out there, not because verbatim that they're accurate, but I think their message in a whole offers something that most people can derive some sense of value from. When it comes to pointing out the most in-line religious text with my own beliefs, I most certainly have to say it's the Urantia Book. If and when anybody ever has the time, it's a very long and complex read. However, I believe, my own personal belief, that text signifies most of the reasons why we're here and why we're here to develop. All right, so this story will break into 3 parts. First, of course, will be the account of what happened. Now, granted, this was just over 20 years ago when I was 17 years old. And then the first part of the explanation or break apart will have to do with the scientific explanation. And then the second part will have to do with the more religious or spiritual explanation, at least what I believe transpired that day. All right, with that said, let's get started. So it all started when I first went for my motorcycle license when I was a kid. I was about 17 years old. My instructor told the whole class that each and every one of you is going to drop your bike at least once during your lifetime. And at least from my experience, being both a therapist and knowing a lot of people that ride, that was completely true. It just so happened that that spring after getting my license, that I was really itching to take my bike out, my brand new Ninja 250, and I ran into some trouble. And that trouble began actually 3 months before the incident itself. So one night when I was dreaming, all of a sudden this piece of parchment in this blackened room appeared and started floating by itself. And there was this white quill pen that started writing and then started scribbling on that piece of paper, "Be careful on that bike." Now, when I was 17, since I really didn't believe in guardian angels that much, I thought it was a deceased relative of mine, a great aunt that I took some care of before she passed away. Now, in hindsight, with the white quill pen and what I know now about angels, it most certainly was an angelic event that would be replayed again several months later. So the day of the incident, I wasn't going crazy in the back rows, although admittedly I was going a little bit too fast when it comes to what I should have been doing. My own mother, a couple of weeks previous, even gave me caution as well, saying that most of the roads were laden with a lot of sand, and it wasn't a very smart time of the year to even try riding for the first real time. And so I ignored my mother's warning, and I went out on my own. And again, I was having a good time, and I didn't know the road too well. And all of a sudden, this one section snuck up on me that was laden with a bunch of sand. And it was unavoidable sand. It was a corner of the road that was sloped down, and the whole road was just covered, completely covered in sand. And so at that time, I knew that something major was about to happen, and I had made a mistake about going on that road. So there I was, realizing that I had made a huge mistake, knowing that within seconds I was going to lose complete control of my motorcycle. And during that time when I was starting to lose control, there was a voice in the back of my mind telling me to do the exact opposite of what I wanted to do, which is let go. Let go of the handlebars to my motorcycle. Despite how I was feeling, despite what was contrary to at least what appeared to be common sense, that you'd want control of your motorcycle as you were spilling, I listened to that voice in my head, and it wasn't my own voice, even though it was my voice. It wasn't my own words speaking to me. And as I was letting go of the motorcycle, all of a sudden I felt this warm blanket of peace and acceptance of whatever was going to happen and love. I've never felt anything quite like that since that incident at the time. And so the bike ended up spilling, and I blacked out. It must have been at least a minute, maybe 2 minutes. And as I was coming to, the bike was just stalling, and the handlebars were a wreck, and my gas tank was dented, had a huge dent from the handlebars. Granted, if I would have kept my hands on those handlebars, I probably would have broken my arm. Very little doubt when it comes to any of that, or at least my fingers. And, checking myself out after the motorcycle accident, didn't have a strain, sprain, not even a scratch on me, despite in several places on my genes having a few tears. To this day, not even understanding where those tears came from, because when I came to, I was on my right side, and those tears were on my left side. So I like to believe that something most certainly was looking after me that day during the incident. I like to think that the Urantia book probably gives the most thorough explanation of what guardian angels are, also known as Seraphim. According to the text, it states that Seraphim are assigned to pretty much almost everyone that has at least some potential for ascension career, right? Be perfect for I am perfect. That's God's entire scheme associated with the ascension plan for creature status people like we are. With that said, depending on what psychic circle you are when it comes to readiness to ascend and your closeness with what's called a thought adjuster, the fragment of God that's imbued within you, that's almost like a visual, auditorial, and thought account of your entire life, you can actually be assigned a specific guardian seraphim at the third and most certainly first circle. According to the Urantia text, guardian angels never work alone, and they usually have at least one other counterpart that is kind of like a polarizing side of them. Supposedly, with us in the thought adjuster, our vibrational thought process and our direction towards righteousness and everything else that's in the Bible is supposed to almost become in parallel with the thought adjuster, and that creates what's called a fusion status, where we can ascend and have immortal status. With seraphim or guardian angels, apparently there's a sense of duality here, and it's not good and evil, but it's a sense of two differing incomplete parts to both angels that when they're in pair, they kind of complete each other. Now, again, I highly recommend that you read the text through the Urantia book to have a better understanding of guardian angels and why they're here. They also perform divine ministries and help guide us towards being more godly, and are one of the many entities that help us have the desire to pray. And lastly, when it comes to this text, guardian angels also are meant to have a written account of our lives, so what they witness. So hopefully that's a good explanation when it comes to the difference between the scientific explanation, which is neurotransmitters and serotonin and lack of oxygen, and possibly, depending on what theory you follow, the release of DMT upon death, or a more spiritualized eternal explanation, which is, maybe I did have a guardian angel and maybe someone was looking out for me. However, in the Urantia text, it states that for an angel to perform that type of action, they actually need approval from their administrators, which I could go on for an entire hour associated with their progression, their ascension scheme, and who they physically answer to. With that said, hopefully this video was enlightening to you. I'm most certainly not saying that this is fact. I cherish almost everybody's own individualistic belief system. But if you want more information, I highly recommend that you guys check out the Urantia Foundation. Until the next episode.